Don't get the meeting
Seriously.
started. We got straight up. Start the meeting with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing, or second thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I would like to add one more thing to the agenda, and that is Amanda Lasher with the treasurer. She's got a request to hire some professional services. So you have an issue with that?
No.
Randy, Gary?
We're just gonna listen tonight, vote next time, or we're gonna vote tonight?
Well, we can vote tonight, or we can table, depending on what the presentation is.
Okay. Here it is.
Mhm.
Sounds great.
All right, motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Greg?
Second.
All right, motion made, second. Vote by roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye. Sorry.
Motion made, second, carried 3-0. I'm gonna go ahead, and I know that the lady that is making the presentation is from Indianapolis, so I'm gonna go ahead and have Amanda start. I'll put her first on the agenda. I'll just let you explain all of it.
Okay.
Since you got so far to travel.
Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Hi, I would like to introduce Liz Williams with American Financial Credit Services. I have inquired the company services because we have over $100,000 in personal property judgments that is due to the county. It will not cost the county any money. Liz will go over more in detail what they have to offer.
Can you say the number again? Was it 100?
Over 100,000, yes.
400,000.
100,
Over 100. 100.
yes.
Thank you, good evening. Like Amanda said, I'm Liz Williams with American Financial Credit Services. We are a local company based out of Indianapolis. I've worked there for 10 years. It is my father-in-law's business, so I work with my husband, I work with my brother-in-law, and I also work with my son. We work with 78 of the 92 counties in Indiana, along with 42 counties in South Carolina. Mississippi's growing too fast for me to keep track of, and we have our first contract in Tennessee to collect on delinquent personal property taxes. In Indiana, we have collected over $100 million for in the last 25 years for Indiana counties. We've done that without seizing any assets, selling any assets, things like that. We work to educate the taxpayers because there are some taxpayers who start a business and maybe don't know everything, and we're able to help them when they get that first notice from the county and say, well, we didn't know what to do, or we didn't know we have to do that. So we work to educate the counties, the taxpayers, and apologize, I had it and I lost it. I'm so sorry. But we don't have that typical collection agency feel. We're not yelling at anybody. We're calling. We're talking to them about the problem and how we're going to get to resolution. And in a situation where they said, well, we went out of business and maybe they didn't file the proper forms, so we're going to tell them, hey, go ahead and go back in, file those proper forms. There's going to be some penalties, but at least then you're not being assessed any further, and then go from there. The cost is put on back to the taxpayer at a 27% collection fee, so there is no cost to the county. So if they owe Amanda $100, the taxpayer is going to pay $127. That $27 comes back to our office, and the $100 paid in full comes back to the county. We are also able to mail Amanda's demand notices and certified notices at no additional cost to them, so they would have that mailing cost added back into their budget because we would absorb that because we would be adding our fee onto that. Are there any questions?
Amanda sent me the contract to take a look at, which I did, and it's fine. I had no legal questions or issues with it at all. So do you personally go to these people, or do you mail them, call them?
The majority is phone calls and mails. Letters mailed out initially, we'll mail out, and if one taxpayer has 10 years, legally we're allowed to go back 10 years to collect those delinquencies. And if that person would get one letter that says you owe taxes from 2011 to 2021, and then they call our office and reach out to us. And that's when we do have inbound, outbound phone calls also. We do utilize tools like web searches, Facebook, to find new information on people. We also use a process called skip tracing, where if, say, you applied for a new cell phone or a new mortgage and you have new information out in the universe, we're able to find that to update our records and things like that.
So would there be, who would still have the authority? Say you contacted someone and they said, well, I'm not paying that. I mean, so what legal authority, who has it?
So we are an extension of the treasurer's office. We're not going to threaten anyone with a lawsuit or anything like that. If it gets to a point where you've got a business that's still open and active and they're refusing to pay, we're going to give you all the information that we've obtained, hand that over to the county attorney, and let the county attorney handle that. If they're refusing to pay us, we would hand off all the information we have so that it keeps it local. We've only been, in the 10 years I've been there, we've only been asked to show up in a court summons twice. So that's for small claims court. And that was just, the treasurer wanted proof that they owed those taxes. So, does that answer your question?
How delinquent are the taxes when they're turned over to you?
18 months. So we give the taxpayers, the current year taxes are due in May 10th and November 10th. We give them to the following May 10th. And then 30 days after that May 10th deadline, when they're 18 months past due, that's when we go through the demand process, run it through the system, and that creates a list that comes to us, and that's when we start collecting.
So this is just personal property. They probably went ahead and paid their regular property tax because we got rules set in place for that.
Right.
Yep.
that We really don't have for this on personal property.
Yep.
We don't have a, yeah, we don't have a,
Yeah, it automatically goes on tax sale, your property, if you default for
Right.
three
Yeah.
three
Yes,
years
3
on
years.
personal, real estate
Right.
taxes, but we don't have that process for personal property taxes.
Correct.
Real estate's 3 installments.
Yes.
3
Yeah,
years.
so you're right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's 3 installments
Sorry.
behind.
Correct. We use SRI for that
which is
service.
basically the same thing.
Yes.
But we're better than them. I said, but we're better than them.
They're really good friends, the two companies. So,
So it's 27%, and it's not a breakdown into higher it gets or anything. it's a
No, flat 27%, yep. And if we get into higher balances, and settlements want to be, if there's settlements that need to be made, that's something that we review individually with the treasurer. We don't make those decisions about lessening fees or penalties because those taxes are what are due. The interest is the only thing that can waiver on those. And those would be decisions that we'd make with Amanda.
So these fees would be in addition to their taxes. Do we have an engine for that? Do we have a way of actually doing that? Actually charge the additional percentage?
We would collect all the money and remit that back. Once it gets into our office, we want to collect all the payments in our office and try to bypass them. That way we can keep our collection fees separate, because it does get a little tricky in the tax software to keep those payments separate. And we have some procedures in place if there are payments made in the office.
But I was just saying, do we have a law in place that allows us to actually put that percentage?
Oh, state statute? Yes, there is,
in there.
there is, yeah.
Okay. I'm new at this.
Oh, you're
so I'm
fine.
learning. I just wanted to make sure we were in our bounds.
Right, and the question I have too, in addition to that is, or say someone gets notified by you and that they owe it, and Chris, maybe you, and they say, well, I'm not gonna pay it 27%, so they pay the county directly. I mean, what happens then?
Obviously, there's always situations like that where someone says, well, I never knew that I owed this money, et cetera. We will try a couple avenues. We'll see if there's a phone number on the credit card payment, try to reach out to the taxpayer and explain to them what the situation is and try to get some of our fees recuperated. And sometimes we do, unfortunately, have to take a loss if they won't answer our call.
but we send out demand notices, so, they've been notified. We send them to whatever address we have our information. We just need to take a step further so the county can get the money that is due to it.
got a question.
That 27%, can you change that annually, or do you change it, or how long is it gonna?
We have, in the last 10 years, as long as I've worked there, we have been at that 27%. I do know that we've raised our fee one time since that, prior to that. I believe the statute reads a reasonable collection cost, and when we started this company, a reasonable collection cost was 40%. And I know that when we started, we were at 22%, 25%, when they started the company, 22%, 25%, and we just raised it to the 27% just about 10 years ago.
Look, if I remember, I think the contract reflects 27%.
Yes,
Yeah, so we would have to, you couldn't just inadvertently change it, it would have to be a new agreement.
correct. Yeah, if we make that change, we would have to go back through and revisit all of our commissioners. Yeah.
Okay.
Amanda, you might have, I should know this, but are there penalties on personal property just like they are on,
There's
real property?
currently only $8, which is relatively low. And then, we're not getting a lot of response, obviously, so.
But
I
that's
feel like-
added in on this, if somebody's $1,000 behind.
Right.
The penalties is added in that, so we're trying to collect everything.
Everything.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
When we get it in our office, she's already applied her late penalties and that, the $8 demand fee, all that's already applied. So she sends me that $1,000 and then it's broken out in our system where you actually see how much was principal, how much was interest, and then how much was the collection fee.
It's my understanding this is an agreement that goes on when you have 30 days. You can cancel it on 30 days' notice.
Right.
So-
Not renewed every year, it just automatically renews.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And this is something we would publicly put out before we actually started initiating it, in the sense of like last chance kind of thing before you get a 27% penalty?
Right.
Or how's that work? Do we just do it?
That verbiage is almost in the demand notice. The demand notice is a state form. We send out the same form that she would send out. It might look a little different, but the verbiage is the same. And it does say you have 60 days to pay this before further actions can be,
Before the
Right.
27% is applied? or
Yes.
whatever?
Yeah, so not only a public notice, but a
Personal
individual notice.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
yeah, and you're not, I know, like tax sales, you're required to, the statute reads that you have to like put it in the paper, you have to advertise that.
Right.
Is that not correct?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
We
I-
don't have to do this. so-
Yeah, we do not have to put that, yeah, we do not have
I
to,
was
there's,
looking for more like what you, with your letter is what I was
Yeah.
looking like, is in the sense they got a 30-day chance to come in and do what.
yeah, as
they
long,
need to
when the
do.
demand notice is mailed out, it does say that you have 60 days to pay this before anything
Before it all
else.
happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does this go back on any of the judgments that's already been filed, or?
Statute allows us to go back 10 years,
Okay.
and we would go back that full 10 years.
So they will receive the same kind of notice?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
But this is personal property, do we have any judgments on personal
Oh,
property?
yeah.
Yes, over 100,000.
Over
Okay.
100,000 is what she said.
Judgments already?
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
over the years, yeah.
Yes, because they, honestly, some of the people are like, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just being honest. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we
I
gotta
mean,
do
if it's a
something.
judgment, it affects them whenever they do credit
Yeah.
or trying to get a loan, because it's filed over in the clerk's office.
Correct.
But some people just don't worry about it
Until they try to borrow money.
until they try to borrow
Yep.
money, right?
Or get a liquor license.
Yes.
Or a mobile home title transfer.
Yes, yeah,
All right.
comes into effect.
Yes.
Out of the 100,000
Mhm.
roughly, is it 20, 30, 50 people, individuals have to be looked at, or?
Yeah, it's over that
Is it
number.
fair?
Oh, yeah. I wanna say 48, but don't quote me on that right now.
I want to read the contract, so I would like to vote on it next time, but I really don't see anything stopping me, to tell you the truth. I know Chris has read it, he's good with it, but I feel like it's due diligence for me to read it, even if, that way I got questions I can ask him.
Absolutely.
So,
Would
Okay.
you,
but I don't have any problems with it so
would
far.
make motion to table it till the next?
Table it till the
meeting?
next meeting, yeah.
I'll second that also.
Okay.
And if I don't need to read it, Chris done read through it, so I'm okay if Chris says it's okay.
Yeah.
If you want to, that's fine.
I read everything. Chris knows I read everything
Yes, he
before I
does.
sign it, so even if I go, what the heck is it saying, Chris? I still read it. so.
Well, and I don't see a reason why it can't wait 2 weeks, I mean, or 15 days, so. All right, the motion made and second, and vote for roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy? Aye. And I vote aye also, and that will be, motion made, second carried 3-0 to table it to our 16th,
November 16th.
November 16th.
You do not have to
meeting,
come
and-
back.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your
You
time.
don't have to go back.
Yeah, we can,
This
if
is-
we have questions, we can ask Amanda.
Absolutely.
This is most likely a formality use for me, so so you don't have to come back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Okay, next on the agenda is Pam Goffman.
Okay, the first thing I have is payroll that was distributed on October the 25th for approval of all county employees, $146,368.38.
So motion to approve?
Motion made and second, vote roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Motion made, second carried 3-0.
Next is claims that were payment as of dated today, and then there's a lot of advances in there. County General was at $363,363.59. Highway was at $466,042. We had advances of $347,500.02, $528, $261.46, $1,530.86, $39,149.30, $728.63, $103.88, $144, $82.92.21, and $2,988.54. And the reason we had so many is because of the State Board of Accounts changing how we have to pay out all benefits as far as our deductions and stuff now through payroll also. That we have to do a claim, and then it's going to do a claim and allowance docket now that we have to issue out every time. So it's gonna cause a lot more advances each time for you.
Instead of just passing it to the employee, letting them pay it, it has to be paid by the county and then passed.
No, it's just coming out, it's because it's going through our funds,
Right.
is what they're saying,
We've
no
always-
matter
It's
what.
going through our books.
We've always
We have-
paid it the same way, we just didn't have
Yeah.
a separate approval each month for
Yeah.
Yeah,
it.
we've always paid, we just never signed all of them, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right, well, and they said they've kinda changed that now we have to have an actual claim with each time too.
And this is catching up.
No, this is
This'll be-
starting
This
with
time.
this payroll, just this month. So we're changing it over starting now.
And these are already in the other docket, it's just broken down here, is what my understanding is, right? These are already in this other claims docket.
No, these are benefits. No, these were what's taken out of employees' checks.
We have to approve
The
what
separate
they
ones
pay.
where it's, even though it's all just employee money and not employer, we
It's
have
still
to,
have to.
we still have to run it through.
Now, the last one had 3 lines striked on it, is that because of, they're not?
That's because Tasha made them, on our first try, we kind of messed up, so
That's all
that's why
right.
we had to reissue out again, so.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
just those 2
those
there.
way, and I redid the amount on that, yes.
Okay, cool. So motion to approve?
Okay, Randy?
Second that motion.
Motion made, second, vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Also vote aye. Motion made, second carried 3-0.
Okay, next I have a couple things is it's that time of year again for specs for supplies for the end of the year. The first 2 I have is the one from the sheriff's office, using 30 gallons of gasoline. 30,000 gallons.
Yeah. 30 gallons. We should approve that for you.
Okay,
So we-
yeah. So, none of these have changed, okay, since last year, but it's using unleaded gasoline, 30,000 gallons or less to be furnished daily, on or demand by the Carroll County Sheriff, and then for the county-owned vehicles, it's 15,000 gallons or less to be furnished on demand for the county-owned vehicles, which is the same amounts they were last year, but we gotta get the specs approved, and so we can get the notice out and get the bids back in before the end of the year on all of our supplies.
Why again do we limit it to 30,000 gallons? I mean, I know we don't ever go over that. Or, Alan, do you remember?
I don't ever remember being told that we went over that. But can I tell you that? No, I cannot.
Uh-huh.
Probably for the bid, for the company's bid, they know exactly how to bid it.
What to put it at.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
not gonna be
kinda what I was
100,000
thinking.
gallon or something like that.
Yeah, so they kind
That's,
of.
I'm just guessing that.
I
To
got,
be able to judge their price, I would think.
Yeah.
well, I got a feeling they buy this in futures, right? They buy future gas and future diesel, they don't buy it current.
If David was here, he could probably answer that, but.
I mean, if you're buying propane, that's how you're doing it. I'm sure that's how you're doing it with gas too, so.
Yeah.
This just gives them a number to buy futures for.
And I do know that they extend the same to the hospital, the same deal to the hospital when, whatever the bid is, then the hospital gets the same deal. So,
I'd like to see if we can't do that for the recycling side too, at some point. I know that that's a conversation we'll have to have.
Really on gas, it's not per gallon, it's just cents off per gallon throughout
Right.
the year.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's usually how it's bid.
But either way, it would be nice to get that for the recycling side too, so.
And I think that once the gasoline bids are in, that we could ask them that.
Yeah.
It would probably, well, whoever wins the bid.
Right.
Based on the green market. We use hundreds of thousands of gallons of diesel fuel and stuff manufactured in places, and it's based on the green market, which you can find on the stock market.
Yep.
So if the price goes up so much, you're only asking them for a price on 30,000 gallons. Then they would raise it after that. So all they're doing is guaranteeing themselves they won't lose. They know they're taking a chance on making or losing so much. But if you would increase a bunch of vehicles and need 60,000 gallons, once you get to 30,000 gallon mark, they're gonna raise your price.
And I guess my question was, why are we making that spec? Is that just to make it a more inviting bid? But-
They probably have to have targets.
If you up that to 100,000, your price will probably be 2 or 3 cents a gallon more,
Yeah.
because they're gonna be taking more of a risk to guarantee that much.
Probably right.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
futures.
so the specification for the sheriff's gas,
I'll make that motion, 30,000 gallons.
Second.
motion made, second, vote by roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Greg?
All right.
And also vote aye.
What about the county one? You just said sheriff.
Yeah.
Right, well, that was the next on the,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
I just didn't know if you were doing both together. You're
no,
doing
we
separate.
hadn't discussed it, I mean,
Okay.
Steve, sometimes we do that. Steve Howell, the highway department, you wanna?
We, what we've been doing in the past is, I call and get you take it under advisement, the diesel fuel prices, you take that under advisement. Then right before you accept bids, I call them that day and get it, the price changes every day. So I call and get a price, and then you approve it. The next morning I call and confirm that price, and it may have went up or down a couple of cents, but that's the way we've been doing it the past several years.
But it's not the same specs as the sheriff's department
No,
gas?
no.
Yeah, I had that same question today. I called him and asked him that same
They were over
question.
here.
Because of freezing, right? Basically, the freezing.
Yes.
Did we get a vote on that?
Not yet.
They vote on this? Not the county one
No, on the county vehicles for gas, is yours included in that? What, no, okay, we're just voting on what we use here.
yet.
So that's
Just
not
here.
yours?
Yeah, just here.
Okay.
Right.
No, those are just
He
here.
listed separate. It's number 5 and number 6 of his bid package.
Well, I'll make a motion on county vehicles for 15,000 gallons. This way.
Second.
All right, motion made, second, roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried 3-0.
Okay, and I did send out the notice of bidders to you, and the highways looked it over, and I think I sent it out to Chris. As of right now, the way we've got it all worked out, which I will put this in advertisement this week, where it'll come out in the paper, the November the 8th and November the 15th. You will be opening bids up on December the 6th,
Okay.
sometime after 6 o'clock, okay?
Okay.
December 6th.
Yep.
Okay, next thing on the agenda, highway department supplies, you wanna
That's all there is.
Yeah, they have.
speak quickly about that?
Our supplies are pretty much the same as they were last year. The only difference being our culverts went up 219% the other day that we found out about.
We're working on that.
And, but I mean, the specs are the same as they were last year,
You said 219?
219.
219%.
And that was this year.
That was that day,
Yes.
yeah,
Versus the bid that you had this year?
yeah. They said they can't honor the annual bid.
I'm looking into what happened with that.
Yeah, Chris is checking into that.
Okay.
Well, we can expect a significant increase for
Yes.
2022.
Yes, I would say so. On culverts, yes.
They planning something like force majeure or something?
Well, that's the thing, I gotta look at what they're claiming. I mean, one option may be, we hold their feet to the fire, and then they say, fine, we'll honor it this year, but we're not bidding next year. Which may be fine, I don't know, so.
I was kind of told in a roundabout way that what they're going to do is say, "Oh, sorry, that product is not available due to COVID," if we try to force it. Was my understanding of what they
They
said.
probably claim force majeure,
Right.
Just gonna give it to us.
which is in the contract,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And I called and priced fuel today. Right this year, we took a firm price on premium diesel. We're paying $1.70 a gallon. The price today was $3.26.2. So it's going to double also probably.
Can't do without.
No. But the specs are all going to stay the same. I mean, on everything else. Yeah.
Well, in fact, that'll affect the asphalt price too.
Yes. Yeah.
On that culvert, is that steel and plastic?
Both. Yes. Well, the 219% was on metal culverts. The plastic, I don't know the exact percent, but it's real close to that.
It's gonna put a hurt on everybody's budget.
Yeah.
That's all they said they have to sign each one.
As far as the bid though, I have no issues. You guys got any issues?
No, the specs are the same as before.
I have the one little question I asked you about, it's an obvious answer, so
Yeah.
I should have thought of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Who will vote?
Sure, so motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made, second. Vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Vote. Vote carried 3-0. Is this
The
the,
petition's behind it.
this is the highway department's, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is a petition to vacate part of dedicated 22nd Street. I know Steve Dobie's here, but are you gonna?
Yeah, Joyce and Steve, I think, are both here, and,
No.
oh, not Joyce, oh, it's Jade. How you doing?
I knew it wasn't Joyce.
Joyce's daughter, Jade, is here. Yeah, I'll just kind of lead off and tell you guys what's going on. So, Joyce and Steve own property just outside the city limits, back around the Greenwood Cemetery, the backside of Greenwood Cemetery. Yell at me if I get this wrong. They have filed a petition to vacate a part of 22nd Street, which of course is vacant now. It's not developed in any way. And it's 192 feet of the street along Lot 4 in Block 304. The reason it's before you is because it's not in city limits. It's a Tell City street, but it's disannexed. So we have jurisdiction over the disannexed portion of the city streets. They have asked to vacate it so they can, I think you guys are going to build a garage or something on the property, and it will be encroaching on that vacated street. So who owns the other side of it? I'm sorry, Greenwood? Okay. So the cemetery is on one side, their property is on the other, so under Indiana law, if you vacate it, half of the street goes to the Dobies and half the street goes to the city of Tell City. I spoke to Walter about it. He has talked to the city and they had no objection. They saw no
Will they have to approve it too?
No, they don't, but since they're an adjoining landowner, they went ahead and asked them about it. It's currently used as a yard, and that's it. So I have here an ordinance for you to consider, which vacates 192 feet off the south side of lot number 4 in block 304 in the Troy Township. Walter published a notice in the Perry County News, which we've got proof of. He's required by law to publish notice.
And it's unimproved.
It is unimproved. So, yeah, here we go, good. So notice was published in the paper as required by law, so they've done everything under the law that they are required to do. What we're required to do is ask if there's anybody here from the public who has an objection or a comment about it, and if so or if not, once you hear those, you can ask questions and take a vote. However you would like.
Any questions, Greg?
Is the utility piece in there?
Yes.
Access the utilities?
Yeah, there are no utilities along the dedicated street now except for an AT&T phone line, and so what the law is, that the use for AT&T will continue after the vacation. It doesn't affect it at all. So there's two ways you can do that. You can get consents from all the utilities that are in there, or if you, and they can move their lines, or if they don't consent or you don't seek consent, the easement just stays there. So anything they do, and they know this, will have to be.
Underground too, considered as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, everything, yes. So anything they do will have to stay away from the AT&T easement.
I have no issues.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second?
Motion made, second. Vote roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried 3-0. Randy?
There you go.
Who made it first?
Randy.
Randy made the motion.
Randy made the motion. I know it's a long process, but it's over now. So.
I can say it's not as long as this tip is in the city limits.
Huh?
It takes longer if it's in the city limits.
Does it?
Not as bad as people said it was, okay?
There's a few more steps
It was almost a year.
few more steps to hop
Gotta
through.
go over there and sign.
We do that a couple times a year for people, so.
Thank you, guys.
Mhm.
That's just the ordinance. needs-
Oh, that's yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all I've got.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the board appointment to the hospital board of trustees. And as before, I'm going to abstain. So I'm going to turn it over to Randy and Greg.
Okay. If you recall, the last meeting, we had a vote. Since Tom couldn't vote, I nominated Eric Floppenberg, and Greg nominated Chris Thomas.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at. We tabled it.
Yeah.
I think the suggestion was we contact both of them, which I think you did, and Chris actually called me today. I was going to call him, but we talked, and I talked to Eric also.
Yeah.
So, right now, we're probably still at a standstill, but Greg's got maybe a solution here.
Want me to read through it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go ahead, since it's your idea.
Yeah, it's a try, it's a little bit better than a coin toss. We may end up coming to a coin toss, but it's a try at least to try to do something other than a coin toss. It's basically called a rubric, so we'll take a card like this and it's got 3 initials on here. And we'll put a 3 for the one that we think is best for the position and the one that we think is least for the position to the middle guy. And we'll give them to Chris, he'll tally them up, and biggest number wins. If there is still another tie, then the tiebreaker is you look at the numbers and the person with the lowest individual score. In other words, like if I give somebody a 1 and he gives somebody, then that actually is going to throw that person out. So the individual score will throw that person out and break the tie. So we'll do that now, and we'll see where it goes, and we still may toss a coin at the end of this, but we'll give it a good college try. How's that sound?
One thing makes it really tough. We got 3 really good candidates.
Yes, yes.
I mean, we can just almost shoot in the dark
Yeah.
and have a good candidate here.
I
So,
agree.
I mean, that's a good problem to have in any organization. So that's what I think is.
I think we both on the phone call with these guys said, if you don't get this one, come back. Because they're good people for just about any board we can put on, so.
Yeah,
If you don't get on this one, don't get discouraged, like I said, I'm going back, so. All right, so.
I didn't know I had to add.
It's a 1 or a 3 or a 2.
You got the auditor next to you, she can help you.
Take your shoes off, Chris.
My brother's the math genius, not me. You know that.
You want to dial a friend?
RUB, RIC. Rick, let's give it to
Dollar Fred.
Give it to Chris.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks.
The auditor here can't add any more years, she's got a calculator.
Okay.
You don't have to tell all the scores, you can just give the one that won, that way it's.
It's better than evening when you bring them all, isn't it?
Better than any money or flip a coin, if it works. We still may be flipping a coin here in 2 seconds, I don't know.
The winner is Jay, John.
So that's John Hart's. Okay. John Hart's. So, there we are. Middle ground she is.
Now, to make this official, you should still have a motion and a second on John Ross.
So, motion for John Hart's.
Okay. Did you give Chris how the numbers?
Instructions? Yeah.
Yeah, make sure we're right on that.
Oh, yeah, give it to him.
I add them up.
Yeah,
It's the highest number we have.
Divide
by 6.
3 plus 1 is 4. 3 plus 2 is 5. 2 plus 1 is 3.
Okay, I'll call for a motion.
I got it.
Motion.
Motion to have John Hart's be on the hospital board.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made second. I'll abstain. Vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
All right.
Okay. John Hart's it is. All right. Next thing on the agenda is animal control standard operating procedure that we're entering with the Harrison County. Greg, you want to explain this?
Yeah, so, basically, we had the contract last time, and I have to apologize, because in between the process of getting both counties to sign that contract, what happened was Harrison County signed the contract without letter J, and we approved to sign the contract with letter J, which was basically, the item that it was that they would only be called by dispatch for our accounting purposes. So to handle that, so that we can just get this thing signed and over with, I'm gonna make a motion that we agree to sign the contract without letter J, and that we include the protocol that I gave tonight. And the protocol that I gave tonight would be signed by both sides as well. And in it basically states that dispatch will be the one calling Harrison County Animal Control. So it's outlined in here, and it's written in words too. So it kind of takes care of letter J for us and gets the ball rolling.
Nothing's changing, just
Didn't have that.
just the wording in the contract.
Just didn't have, they signed it at the same time we said, let's add letter J. So I thought instead of going back to them and having them after we do it, we'll do the same thing, but do it a different way, which is through a policy.
Okay.
And then the schedules, I gave you the schedules too, just so that you've got those for record too, what they are.
Well, if we're not changing anything,
I don't have a problem with it.
maybe we'll.
You all right with it? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you make the change to,
The policy, yeah, I
Yeah.
put the definition there, animal control officer is, in this policy, refers to the individual assigned by Harrison County to respond to Perry County request for service.
yeah, so basically, if dispatch is called by someone and they contact, if it's in Tell City, they'll contact Tell City Police Department, if it's in the county, they'll contact the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
If it's a dog bite or something like that, they'll also contact the
Health Department.
Department, the
Right.
Hennessy Sanitarium.
Yeah.
And if that's not resolved that way, then they'll contact the animal control officer who is designated to be the Harrison County person.
Right.
And that person will then come deal with the issue.
And there's a little flow chart, if
Yeah.
anybody's interested in seeing how the little flow chart works, but
So-
kind of outline. And it also says in here, if a citizen or organization calls the animal control officer, if it's a new incident or something they can't answer over the phone, they resolve it by sending them to the dispatch. They don't come and respond. They still say, you need to call the dispatch, they'll call us to respond.
And that's what Harrison County wanted. Oh,
Yeah, they wanted that too, yeah. they wanted
Exactly.
that too. And I think it's right, we've got our own way of triaging here. And Sheriff's over there,
Yes.
he's shaking his head.
A lot
too.
needed to track too,
Yeah,
as far as cats.
yeah. It's all documented at that
Yeah.
point.
Right. Okay, well, motion,
So motion?
I'll second it.
okay, motion made, second, vote, roll call, Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Right, so both aye.
One other part of that is that rather than drag them down here, it gives the officer a chance to take a look at the dog, if it's a dog, and see if it's got tags and if they can catch it easily and
Resolve
return
it
it to its
without-
owner without having to call Harrison County to come down.
There's a lot of things they can solve on their own.
Yeah.
You know, but
So it's-
that's what that triage moment's for.
It's a good fix.
Before we leave that one, I know we voted, but before we leave that, I do want to give some kudos. I didn't do this in a vacuum, and neither did Harrison County. We had Sheriff, we had Derek Llewellyn, we had Eric Dickerson, we had Herbie down there, and we had Kim and April. We all got in a room and we hashed this all out on a whiteboard so that we knew what we wanted before we put it down on paper. So thanks to those guys for doing that with me too.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the alterations or improvements to the existing animal shelter business, or building, so we can accommodate short-term, I guess, holdings of the animals.
Yeah, it goes kind of along with what Chris said, you know, to give our officers a better chance of being able to handle the situation, they need a place to actually put the animal for a while, okay? And so if they have a stray and it's not mean, it's, you know, not vicious or whatever, and they can handle it and that kind of stuff, they could take that stray and actually put it in one of these 5 runs out at the animal shelter. And Harvey, this is what they've done in the past too, right? They used to do, when the animal shelter was open, they had these runs open for that kind of thing too, right?
Officers would take an animal up there at night, put it in, give it food or water, and then text Jeff or Cherish and tell them what they dropped, so they need to take it inside the next morning.
And this would be the same thing, but they call dispatch and then dispatch.
Tells Harrison County.
Yes.
More or less the same thing.
Yeah.
They also got a cat on.
But we're just making the building,
Oh, yeah.
Documentation, yeah.
we're just making the building better to be able to handle that and be safe for the animal and the people.
Again, it was the same group, Herbie and Derek. Well, Derek didn't go with us there because he had something else he had to go to, but Herbie and Sheriff and April went down there with us. And I don't know, did Derek go with us? I don't think he did. No, so we all went down there and looked at it and kind of talked it over. And then we had Nick come down there and actually look at it too, so.
The only difference on this would be keeping it there for 1, 2, 3, or 4 days. Used to, the animal got tucked inside the next morning, or sometimes the church would go over and do it the night. But in this case, if you're gonna have it there for 2 or 3 days, instead of having to call and have them pay them $275 to come down and pick up one dog, if you wait 2 or 3 days, that will save money and give the owner here in the county a chance to maybe find it and go get it.
Yep.
Before it has to get sent to it there.
All the way to Harrison County.
Yeah.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
But then if the weather is bad, then that'll have to be managed. You don't want to leave.
Well, Greg's gonna cover part of that as far as with the, here in a minute, I guess, with the Indiglo all-weather igloos with straw in them. And if you put one extra large, cause I go through the CADs every month, and basically nothing bigger than a German Shepherd or a Husky ever. So really, we probably don't even need an extra large, but if you do 1 extra large, 2 large, and 2 mediums, and with the door on the front of them, any kind of animal, if you want to put a thermostat in there while the animal's in there, it'll be nice and warm, get you in a bed of straw. They use these same dog houses in Canada and northern part of the United States, so they're, some people might not like using them, but I mean, I guarantee you the animal's not gonna freeze to death inside these igloos with a straw in.
Very humane.
Yeah.
So Nick put together a estimate and quote for an actual quote they put together for the modifications. And then Herbie, I gave him a list of things that we might need and asked him if there was any other stuff, and he put that together for us. And so all together, the 2 things together would be about $73.95.92 is what it totals out to be. Now, me and Herbie's talked, some of the items on our list, we might be able to get those out of the animal shelter itself. And if we can, we'll save that money. But we're just kind of covering our bases just to make sure we got everything that we did, make sure it's there. so.
Where was the total?
73, 95, 92. And again, this is all stuff that if somebody opened the animal shelter, they would probably do this exact same thing anyway, because they need a place to drop animals too. So we're not wasting money in the long run here either.
And this money would come out of the animal shelter fund.
Yeah.
Do we need, does that need council?
Yeah, that would need,
Yeah, we could probably just pick 75. and-
that needs a motion approval by us, and then it'd be appropriated by the council.
Yeah, and the other piece of it too is the door. I want to include in it is that there's an electronic door there with an electronic lock. We should also put in the motion that we approve having that door open for officers so that they can actually get in there and actually get food and stuff. It's another way of like securing the food and that. So if we could put that in the motion, I'd appreciate that too.
Chris, I've got a question regarding the funding part. Is that coming out of the money that was appropriated for the animal shelter or the money that was turned back in by the animal shelter?
My opinion, it should be out of the budgeted 35,000 because on 12/31, that money disappears. It goes back into the fund, so we don't get to keep that money. We should spend that money now.
But that decision is a council decision, correct?
No.
Okay,
You want
because
to
we've
transfer
never
it to
seen
a
any
line item.
numbers on what was turned over to the county financially.
I'm sorry, say that.
From the old
Mhm.
animal shelter,
Mhm.
when they dissolved, they were supposed to liquidate and turn everything over.
Mhm.
The council's not seen any amounts, so.
Well, it's not secret, I mean, it's public record.
No, well, I know, but my question was, do we use that money or do we use?
To me, I would use the budgeted because it's gonna get,
Go back in.
go back in the general fund if we don't use it. The other we can keep there in case we do have an animal shelter come up, we can actually spend it.
Well, yeah, but you know,
Spend it
that
while you-
building's got maintenance issues you gotta deal with on occasion.
Yeah, I would rather use what was budgeted. It's already been budgeted, it's there to be used. Let's use it.
But where is the money that was turned over?
It's
It's in a
there.
separate
Pam can tell you the line item if you want.
It's in a separent fund, I don't have that here with me.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
we
you've got
have
it on
never-
your financial list.
There's
that I
two
gave you.
funds, there's a fund that has that money in it, and then there's another, and that money, that fund also gets the rent.
Yes.
Yeah, it grows
Yes,
every
it
month.
gets
It goes
the
every month.
$1,600.
And then there's a separate fund that's the budgeted money from the city.
It's not a separate fund, that
Oh, it's all-
our
it's all-
35,000 is in county general, it's a separate department.
Okay,
Right.
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I just never looked at it, so that was my question.
But we haven't collected anything from the city, correct? We entered interlocal agreement.
I don't
No.
believe
I know
so.
they've budgeted, but
They budgeted, but we
and we
never-
don't have that
No, because there's
until
not
we
been-
actually,
Open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we don't have, yeah,
Because we don't have a shelter.
right.
right?
Okay, thank you.
But I mean, to answer your question, Charlie, I mean, ultimately, that should be a council decision, or do we?
No, you guys can say where you want it paid from, and like if you do it out of the 35,000 that's in the, it's in county general department, what we'll do is we'll have to transfer it into a separate line item within that department, okay?
And then the council can approve it or not?
Right.
Gotcha. So they do have ultimate,
They do, but you guys can, you
That's what I
guys
know.
can say
We
where
gotta
you
get
would
it
like to
started.
see it
I
come
don't- I don't
from,
see a problem.
because we gotta have a direction
Right.
whether to do a transfer or what. so.
One way or another,
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna
It'll
happen.
get okay.
right.
'Cause the other
So
one-
we'll-
the other
So the
has the
motion would be
additional.
to request to pay it out of the $35,000 budgeted. That will be the motion that you're,
Yes.
to make that clear.
I'll make that clean.
And how
Yeah.
much do we want to up that a little?
Yeah, how much are we wanting to put, how much do you wanna transfer?
Do 75, is that okay with, I mean, it's 73 something, do
Yes.
75?
Let's just make it
7,500,
75.
7,500?
Because there are some of these as estimate numbers. Again, I hope to be under that because we hope to reuse some stuff that we have. But just to make
We'll
sure.
be under that, but you've got 4 red asterisks on there.
Yep.
How you gonna handle that? The straw, the dog food, and the pooper scooper bag, they're gonna be a recurring
Right.
based on how many animals, I mean, like that price there
But
is
it's-
for 120 bags.
It's just like maintenance on the building at that
That's what
point.
the money's
though.
for.
You guys
It's
can
just
always
like
just
maintenance on the
do
building
it.
at that point. so.
You guys
It's
can
gonna
always
be a
prove
drop in
another
the bucket, but
transfer.
it's just something.
I'll just go 8,000.
Yeah. We'll just have to come, when that runs out, we have to,
Keep in mind that got to go through the process of a commissioners meeting and then an appropriation, so
The four, the
plenty of
first,
notice.
if we have to do, if we have to buy these again, the four-star items, if we have to buy them again, it totals up to be about $100. Greg Jarvis will donate the $100 if the council wants to do this.
Well, it's
I would just say a little higher.
Right? So I mean, 75, but 75.
75,
gives
they're
us
thinking that it won't
75
take the
covers it.
73.
Well, I mean,
Do the 75.
But
Yeah.
And then if we come across, I'm sure we can take care of that.
I mean, that's $100. I mean, that's what I mean. I didn't mean anything bad against the
Right.
council at all.
No,
Don't take it
no,
that
I
way.
don't
I just
think
meant
anybody
it's a
would
little amount stuck
argue.
in there. Yeah. It's tiny.
So,
Okay, so we're doing 7,500.
Yeah,
You're making the
75.
motion 7,500
Yeah.
from the budgeted 35,000.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we are, like Teresa just reminded me, we are very close here to the end of the year. So if we're buying this stuff, we're gonna need these claims and bills in here
Pretty quick.
as soon as we can.
ASAP.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
didn't want to state it that way, but yes, they.
No, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
so
We
Greg,
will.
we don't want this to linger on anyway.
No, because for us to get the bills in to get it
It's
paid.
becoming winter.
Do you have a two-part motion? Is it to approve the expenditures themselves and
Yes.
then to,
I'll do two separate motions.
okay,
How's that
let's make sure we cover both of those.
Yeah. So the first motion is the $7,500 out of the $35,000 line item there.
Okay.
I'll let you play with the name there.
Mhm.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, made second, and roll call, Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Okay, motion made, second, carried 3-0 to ask for 7,500 to be transferred, and now your other motion is to,
So there is an electronic door on the side of the building, and it currently has a keypad there, and we think it just needs reprogrammed and battery put in it. We'd like to be able to give access to the officers through that door, if that's okay. Just make a motion to make sure that that's all right to do that too. Okay, because we've been trying to limit access to that building, so I just wanted to make sure it was okay with us.
So is this changing the door, changing the lock?
no, just allowing the,
Permission.
Line access to the building
By
via that
law
door.
enforcement.
Give them the code.
Mhm.
Put a 9-volt battery in it and reset the passcode.
okay.
I talked to Jeff Snyder, he told me where the paperwork was on how to set the passcode, and the battery's dead. And, I mean, that's all we think it is, unless we get in there, you know, there's something wrong with the lock, then we'll find it.
So is the motion to give access to the law enforcement agencies,
Yeah.
sheriff,
Sheriff.
Hamilton,
Yep.
Tell City,
Tell City. I would also give it to April, at Harrison County Animal Control Services.
and Troy.
Yeah, and Troy.
Troy.
Yeah,
Okay.
so those individuals there.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Motion made, second, and a roll call, Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried 3-0. All right. Next thing on the agenda is miscellaneous, and Miss, you asked to speak. Would you care to step up to the podium and introduce yourself?
Celia Farrand, citizen of Tell City, recovering alcoholic and addict. Progress was made. We've been talking about the animal shelter, and progress was made. Yay! Right? Yeah, I'm next. Okay. This is to do with the sober living house that we are trying to build here in Tell City. I wrote a speech, so I just would appreciate your few minutes while I read through this. As I opened my program book early Saturday morning, the message was perseverance. Perseverance in staying clean and sober, perseverance to stay the course. It struck me at the moment that perseverance is exactly what we need to push ahead with our sober living house in Tell City. Bureaucracy and red tape are temporary barriers to this cause. We will persevere. As Kevin Costner succinctly stated in Field of Dreams, if we build it, they will come. I believe this with all my heart. We're not asking to open a frat house or John Belushi's Animal House where priorities of the day are getting wasted and cutting class. If this is your perception, please rethink that. For those of you who would block our effort, you are wasting your time and ours. It will be done. In last week's council meeting, the agenda read like an invoice from the jail. which I still have, literally every item on the agenda addressed money needed to house inmates. As of Saturday, October 30th, total inmates at the Perry County Jail numbered 76. Of those, 35 were drug charges. That's almost half of the population at the jail. That doesn't include the Vanderburg overflow that doesn't list the offense. Had this information been listed, I have no doubt it would have increased the number of inmates jailed for drug charges. Is this the best use of our resources? I would prefer my tax dollars work towards prevention. Early education as young as middle school would be a start, but we must deal with the more immediate problem. Is it not our duty and responsibility to help those released from jail to succeed once they're back in society? I've heard it said, not in my backyard, referring to a sober house in the community. Well, here's a reality check. They're already in your backyard. They're already living among us, released from jail with no other option than to go back to the same risky living arrangements. The cycle of drug use begins again. Definition of insanity: repeating the same behavior over and over and expecting a different result. Family members, more often than not, have no clue how to help the struggling alcoholic or addict. They try and then they fail. Odds are the majority of people sitting in this room today have been affected by drug use. The Journal of Psychoactive Drugs reported on a few different types of sober living homes and found that the average stay was between 166 days and 254 days. Residence in a sober living home led to fewer problems with drugs and alcohol, and, excuse me, according to studies published by Psychology Today, they have a lower relapse rate than those who don't go to a sober living house. For example, the study found that individuals who were abstinent for less than a year relapsed 2/3 of the time, while those who were sober for an entire year relapsed half the time. Individuals who were abstinent for a period of 5 years remained sober and avoided relapse 85% of the time, resulting in lower arrest rates, higher employment rates, and more stable housing. These are the facts. The beauty of numbers is that they don't lie. These numbers were not part of a partisan effort to prove or disprove anything. They were gathered by an unbiased agency assimilating information upon follow-up of those attempting to stay clean and sober. Perry County continues to pump money into the problem after the fact. The resources put forth to house inmates, while necessary, is counterproductive. Again, the definition of insanity. The user is arrested, serves their time or bonds out, ends up right back where they were when arrested, uses again, gets caught again, is jailed again, over and over. I was introduced to and wrote about Sheriff Malone's 360 program recently. I was hopeful that at least some revenue from these arrests was put towards prevention. If this program is embraced by the inmate, it could be a bridge to recovery. Best case scenario, the inmate is armed with the 360 program and upon release enters a sober living house. In this house, they will continue to learn how to live clean and sober. They will learn how to put 2 feet on the floor each morning without their drug of choice. They will greet their fellow housemates with empathy and understanding. House chores will be completed, possibly a meeting to follow. Then they'll get ready to walk out that door and interact with the people in this town. They may work among you. Perhaps you run into them at the store or see them dining out with their families. This is a small town. They are fully aware that they are covered in judgment. They accept that, knowing it is deserved. Desperately trying to prove themselves, they will retreat to their sober, safe house and talk with their fellow addicts and alcoholics about their experiences during the day. There will be empathy and understanding. Perhaps they all experience the same judgment. They will take that judgment and opinions of others and toss them aside. Little to be done about it. They will get up the next day and continue to stay clean and sober. Maybe they will feel the judgment a little less today, and even less the day after that. For those of you in this room who have been fortunate enough to have escaped the ravages of drug use, I say this. Addiction is not a moral weakness. It is a mental health problem. It will catch up with you. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but it will find you. When that happens, would it not be better to have an established house for you and your loved one to begin to heal? The time for talk is over. We need action, and we need it now. It will be done. It will be done. That is the end of my speech. I have also included copies of my New Beginnings skeleton of what a sober house could look like in this town. We seem to be making it way more complicated than it needs to be. I'm Celia Farron. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I'm going to agree with a lot of warehousing, nonviolent drug addicts is not the answer. You know what I mean? I'm talking about jail, and that's warehousing, nonviolent. So I agree with that. And Teresa and I have been sitting on the Mental Health Coalition Board, and this has been brought up too, and that, I mean, it is mental health. So I'd support what you're saying, and with the ARP, I'm hoping that we can come up with some way to support it with ARP funding.
That's my goal. I brought that before the council. The survey was taken. I don't know what the results of that survey were yet.
You're talking about the ARP survey?
Yeah.
Yeah, those have been actually done, so I can give you what that was.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. The general answers, I can't give you the details.
Sure. Here's my biggest point I want to make. I know someone's talked to Oxford House, we've talked to Now Counseling, we've talked to, the most critical issue in a sober living house is the staff. You have to have a certified recovery specialist on call, preferably paid. You have to pay them. You would need another 24-hour staffer to live there who's in recovery. Those are critical. Those you will have to have 2 paid positions. I put it in my revised edition of this, what I thought that might cost after talking to Jordan Milby. Rent can be paid when the housemates go to work. If not, we've got grant money. We need to start talking about how we might get the house. Will it be donated? Can we afford a mortgage? Utilities, property insurance, food, beds. We need to start talking practical. We need this abstract idea that, it's going to fall out of the sky like Wizard of Oz. That's not going to happen. We need to start talking practical, and after talking practical, we need to move into action, because I'm tired of talking about this. People in this town are dying. They're literally dying. Sheriff Malone's doing his best to try to transition them out. He can arm them as much as he wants to with this program, and they go right back into the house they left when they were arrested. It's a cycle. It's never going to work that way. I implore you to begin to look at this practically. It's not brain surgery, and it's not near as hard as we seem to be making it. So, I hope to have some action.
We have the Mental Health Coalition, we have a public hearing. Teresa, what date is that?
Town Hall on Monday,
Yes.
November 29th.
I'm aware, and I will be
5
there.
p.m.
Yes.
So we want to make that clear.
And it's here at the courthouse.
And we had pursued the grant for a facility like this. It came we got notification of it like a week or two before.
We missed the Yoga grant.
Right, but that doesn't mean that.
There's 26 grants right now in the state of Indiana, 26.
Right, the
for
week
substance
is-
abuse.
What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
it told us we need to be prepared. And
We do.
that's- And that's what,
Mhm.
and I think that's the goal of the group. So the 29th?
29th, yes.
Yes.
Monday.
That we can pull public input to pull ideas and to get it moving.
You've talked to Tell City Council too, I assume.
I have.
Yeah. And I do know that, you know, the DLC out there too has programs where they counsel their people, and we're always looking to look at practically, we're looking for a workforce in our community. Well, let's convert people to a viable workforce, rather than,
And fortunately, in this town, most of the manufacturing plants hire felons. So typically, they don't have problem getting jobs. It's not the best work, but it's work. It's
Right.
honest work. So,
the industry needs workers. The don't want to call them offenders, my son-in-law's got a name for it, clients. That's what they refer to them at the DLC, the
Mhm.
clients.
Mhm.
The clients need work, and the industry needs work, so let's just put it together.
and if I might say one more thing, being practical, it is ideal that the house be here in town, so the transportation is not an issue. They can walk to court, they can walk to meetings, they can walk to work, they can walk to the grocery store. Having it out rural, where nobody needs to see it or be bothered by it, is not practical. It's not practical for someone who's trying to get clean
You
sober.
made a very strong statement. They do exist among us.
They do. Thank you.
This skeleton that you're talking about, and not against any of this, I'm just asking questions so I have to learn.
Sure.
I consume, you know, basically.
I love questions.
So on the skeleton, is there a 501(c) that you're thinking about working through for the ARP money?
I'm sorry,
A
say that
nonprofit?
again.
Is there a nonprofit that you're thinking about, like, going through for the?
Not one that we have narrowed down.
Okay.
No.
But you have some options there?
We do.
Okay, good.
Yes.
And then the other one is startup and operating. I'm assuming somebody's working on what dollar number you need based on that. And Teresa's speaking over here too. Teresa, if you've got a comment.
I'm not aware.
But there is
Or
different
dollar
efforts,
amount.
and I think it's time to combine all those efforts.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say is
Right.
I want to help, but I know ARP's gonna, those are some things that ARP money's gonna, the application's gonna
Mhm.
require is, you know, what's your 501(c), what dollar do you want, how much of it is startup, how much of it is operating.
And with the mental health.
You know what I'm saying, and I'm not, none of those are things that I'm saying against it, I'm trying to prep, because people need to know that that's what we
Right.
need in order to be able to do something.
Right.
Yeah, we are restricted on that money. You have to give it to
Yeah.
certain
Yes,
kinds
but
of people and entities.
I think we had some ideas. with
Certain
the
kinds of
coalition.
people and entities, what does that mean?
Certain kinds of entities, 501(c)(3).
Ah, yes, yes,
Yeah, that's what I
of
said.
course.
No, it's not limited on other things, I meant 501(c)(3).
Yeah, I want to help, and I just
Yeah, I'm
want
not
to make
trying
sure
to
we put
limit
our
it.
dots on our i's and t's, cross our t's.
Yeah. It would be lovely to have someone who could put all those numbers together. I'm thinking the real estate is going to be the biggest thing. Donated, purchased, I'm not sure how all that's going to work. And I don't know that I'm the best one to find all that out, but I will get with people who are.
Yeah,
And
and
part
we
of it-
have
part of it-
we have got a piece of real estate in mind, so I'm.
We do?
Yeah,
We're-
the coalition has, that's what I'm saying, you've got your effort.
Everybody's working separately. Yeah.
Let's work together.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that pull together on the 29th.
Okay.
And everybody bring together, and I've spoken to a couple of people with different churches, and, you know, they got the same thing. Well, we tried to do this, and so, and it's failed for lack of this piece and lack of this piece.
Mhm.
So if we now it's time to come together. Your efforts, there's 3 or 4 gentlemen that I've talked to that, with the church that are very interested in it, and like I said, the Mental Health Coalition, and then the other group that we're meeting with you, Teresa.
No, well, Strong Family, Strong Community, is that what
Yes.
you're talking?
Yeah,
I
that
know.
one.
I mean, that's a group of people but I always call it as boots on the ground folks that
Exactly.
can't
So
really
it's time
make the
to, I think
decisions,
it's time to
but
pull it all
that
together.
work together.
So at the town hall meeting, will you have a more clear idea of where this real estate might be? Or if it's even available?
That's what we'll hope to find out
Okay.
by then. Because we were pursuing it for this Oprah grant, and then we couldn't get the logistics together, so. but
Okay.
I don't mean to sound secretive, but I don't want to speak out of turn. When we talked about it, Tara and I, and, anyway.
Yeah, you don't want
Okay.
to, I'm just.
I don't want to identify it yet,
Because-
because I think it's a real, I think it's a really good possibility.
Okay.
And it fits the criteria. And I want to talk to the people from the city too, because I don't just.
In my new beginnings, the requirements that I laid out for at least 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2 separate living areas, a yard, those kinds of things, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Bring it to you on the 29th.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. You're not being ignored.
Oh, I wouldn't let you do that.
You made that clear from the
I
beginning.
made that very clear.
Can I have, yeah, you got an extra
You
one?
wish.
You got another
Like I said,
copy?
I'm not.
I do.
I just want to make sure that we give you the right
Okay.
things.
Absolutely,
Because
I
I don't
get
want
it.
another, like Okra, I don't want another one passed, so
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Like I
you.
said, I think it is an effort that needs
Does this
attention.
have numbers in it?
It's got a few, I've looked a few in, yeah.
But I think what we need to
Rent
do is
and,
pull together
Right.
as opposed to.
Rent,
Separate.
cost of 2
Efforts.
CRSs, on staff 24/7, yeah.
You can email me that. You got it.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any more public comment? Anybody got anything? Charlie, you're not saying much.
Go ahead and let you know the bridge on Urban Road was open Thursday.
Oh.
If that road's back open again,
Good.
just update you on
And the work in the Tobin Township area, are we,
it.
how are we on that?
Tobin Sport is completely done, the shoulder stone and everything, they're working on Astor Road now. Probably 3 or 4 more days without rain and they'll be done with it.
So
Our
we're-
paving will be done then.
Our projects of community crossings is really, I know we've been working on these for years. We had a plan last year and it fell through, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank your legislators for community crossing grant.
That's made a big difference in this county.
They did, we've gotten $1 million a year for a few years. All right, next meeting.
Next regular meeting is Tuesday, November 16th at 8 a.m.
Thanks, everyone.
Celia.